Kusile ngolumhle sikwamukele ehlelweni Kusile Breakfast Show kungolesihlanu dintathu enyangeni yeKholwane lami libito nginothela sithole nganye nasifiso Xumalo Mnguni. How are you doing, Mnguni?
I'm all right. Cannot complain. How are you, Notsile?
I'm good. Liviki lakho libenjani?
Productive.
Okay.
Productive. I think Babugele Makaya can attest to that. I think productivity to me is measured by the work that we deliver at home, and this particular one as well as our other sister programs. And I think we've done a good job there, even if I do say so myself. So I believe it's been a productive one. Looking forward to a restful weekend and spending time with my family. My father's birthday on Sunday. Family something dondori on Saturday.
Happy
So it promises to be a really good one. Yeah, thank you on his behalf. How is your weekend looking like?
Not much planned on my end.
Argentina is playing Cape Verde on Saturday.
And we are crossing fingers they win.
Yeah, of course.
Viva
Greatest
Argentina.
of all time is going to be playing, so
Certainly.
I agree with you. Otherwise, looking forward to this program, Notsile. We have a special guest. Well, not special, but really important guests. We want to discuss issues around the harvest season with the National Maize Corporation, with Banele Ngonyane, who is the development farmer or umlimisi in English from the NMC. A couple of points that they want to address this harvest season, including shelling as well as moisture during this harvest season. But also we do speak to Gogo, famously known from the dynamic comedic duo Gogo and Swane, as they host a very important men's mental health event this weekend that is going to be convened at the Happy Valley called Mfowethu Ugrand. They want to speak to some of the issues that men are facing, really, that affect their mental health. Both those conversations coming up on the program, so do stay tuned for all of those ones.
And on my end, you know how they say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. New author in town rather, Lungile Faith Dlamini says otherwise. She does say, in fact, in her new book, her debut book, Let It Flow, this is an 8-chapter book that focuses on healing, growth, journey, and forgiveness. So this is definitely a book that you do want to catch. Local is lekker. I think it's a read for you and I. Actually, she does say that it doesn't have, or rather, it's not for a specific age group, but for everybody just wanting to move past the hurts and the hurdles of life. We're going to catch up with her and the story behind the book, really. She's also a mental health advocate, so we're going to find out from her what she thinks we can do better individually as a society to balance faith, to balance mental health and prayer as well.
It is 3 minutes after 6. You're watching Kusile Breakfast Show. This is the Friday edition. Good morning. We'll see you after the break with our news.
Attention retailers, importers, clearing agents and customs brokers. All television sets and decoders entering the Kingdom of Eswatini now require mandatory ESTVA authorization before customs clearance. No clearance without valid ESTVA import permit. Don't risk delays at the border. Submit your application 24 to 48 hours before your shipment arrives. We process complete applications in just 1 to 2 working days. Our QR-coded permits make the verification quick and easy. Always double-check your HS codes and quantities for smooth compliance. The process is simple. Step 1. Submit your completed application form. Annex A with product line items for TVs, decoders, and commercial invoice. Step 2. Eswatini TV reviews and approves. Step 3. Make payment and complete verification. Step 4. Receive your permit. Step 5. Clear customs smoothly at the border. Make sure you have all your required documents, a completed application form, Annex A detailing your product line items, commercial invoice, valid TV retailer license, and letter of authority if applicable. Our permits feature QR codes for easy border verification. For assistance, email us at license@eswatinitv.co.za or call our help desk. Apply before your shipment arrives. Ensure compliance and avoid delays. Remember, all TV sets and decoders entering the Kingdom of Eswatini must have a valid ESTVA import permit. Thank you. Act now.
Ngiphinza nguvusele ngolumhle nathi indzaba ngemuva kokuphuma kwembiko webantfu labasha loveta ukukhula kwelizinga lebucala lobentiwa bantfu labasha kanye nebantfu labasha labangenela umkhuba emagenge Kusile Shabangu sonhlalakahle wenhlangano lebuke ukuvikela bucala nekubuyisela similo ye-Eswatini Association for Crime Prevention and Rehabilitation of Offenders uthi bantfu labasha labanye bakopa lokwenteka ku-internet lokubenda banganetiseki kanti labanye basuke bafuna ukutiva bathandwa noma bamukelekile ngokuthi babe ingcenye imikhuba yemagenge nebucala.
Lo mbiko uveta ukuthi ngeminyaka wa-2023 bantfu labasha lababoshelwa emacala lahlukene lafaka ekhatsi kugcekeza bebangu-1,500 nga-2024 benyuka bafika ku-2,000 bese kuthi-ke bantfu labasha labaneminyaka lesuka ku-10 kuya ku-11 labasemabangeni lasuka ku-grade 5 bangenela emagenge sonhlalakahle wenhlangano i-Esakro Kusile Shabangu uveta lokho lokwenta bantfu labasha bangenele lemikhiba.
Bamana ema-families abo abawanaka banikele ithando lesimoleni abantu labasha abasativa bavikelekile bantwana yabo bamana abasativa bathandwa banikelwa into leti mfanele ukuthi bangakhula njengebantwana labanye lesibonile ukuthi abantwana ba-exposed kakhulu ngabantu idizabentele ukuthi sebabuka ku-internet kakhulu. So lempilo labayibonako ku-internet sebeba angazi ukuthi bona ngabe sengiyona impilo lempilo yabo la ekhaya. Wena uma umntali wenta le mizamo lomzamako ungakacashwa ungasebenzi kude income lokho lozama ngayo ebe angazi ukuthi yena akufiki la afuna khona ngoba akufiki kulezinga leli lakalibonile yena.
Lo sabambe kuba ngiloxhumanisa sive nemaphoyisa amazwi Nzimanze uchaza tinhlelo letikhona emaphoyisa lanato ekuncanza lesimo.
Sinelihlelo ngaphasi kwelitiko le-community safety noma ke i-crime prevention lekuvakashela abantwana etikolweni sibafundzise ngetingoti tebucala nekuthi bucala buyi-affecta njani impilo yakho ungumuntu lomusha. Sisesekhona etikolweni sifike abantwana sibakhuthate phinde sibalekelele ekuvuleni ema-schools anti-crime club. Le concept leyo noma lo mcondo loyo ukuthi bantwana beva kangcono nabakhulunyiswa ngilabanye bantwana ngetindzaba leti tebucala. Siphinde sendluleke lapho sithi singemaphoyisa noma singilona letiko la community safe sithi nangabe kunemidlalo lekhona yebantwana sithathe lelo lithuba ukufundisa ngawo wona bucala ukuthi sibasha asigweme bucala ngoba bucala abulungi busimoshela likusasa lethu.
Lenye imbangela yalobucala lobentiwa bantfu labasha kusebentisa kwetidzakamiva. Umsunguli wenhlangano lefundzisa abafundzi ngebungoti betidzakamiva, Reverend Peter Semogerere Mugalu, uthi kungasekeleki kahle kwetinhlelo tekuncanza lesimo ngiko lokubanga letinkinga.
We need cooperation, especially from the gatekeepers. By gatekeepers, I mean those people who are responsible, maybe for schools or churches or communities, because without them, we are unable to get an entrance. Yes, there are those at higher levels.
Uthi letinhlangothi letikhicita letidzakamiva tiyahlanyela imali tenteni nelicwaningo, kepha-ke kude lohlanyela etinhlelweni tekuncanza bantfu labasha ekusebentiseni tidzakamiva. Uthi-ke letinhlangothi tize takhe tindlela tesimanjemanje letifaka ekhatsi lugwayi lolutfutfukile i-Viper. Kubika Sondomlangeni, eMbabane.
Singambi kutse ngolumhle kungaba kwatisa ukuthi tikola letivele ethombeni tethu atihambisani ngco noma kati kaphathelani nalo mbiko lesiphuma kuwo. Sesichubeka netindzaba micro projects ngekubambisana nelitiko lekuhlela umnotho selithulanga lasemthethweni lihola emphakathi wasembolonjeni ngaphansi kwenkundla yasemotshane. Leli hola lingabeta imali elinganiselwa ku 2.3 million emalangeni. Inhloso yaleli hola kuthuthukisa sona sive lesingephansi kwale nkundla njengoba sitokhona kutivulela business kulesakhiwo.
Micro project umsebenzi kufuna awakhe ube une quality lesezingeni. Utadibonela nawo leli hola ukuthi indzaba lalivalo indzaba yequality. Bese yesithathu ukuthi sakhe umsebenzi ngetindleko letiphansi. Lelo hola nje obulibona ukuthi lasha abantu labengcako abantu lale kubo 700. Kodwa lelo hola silakhe ngemali lengengci ku 3.2 million. Kufaka ekhathi konke ayasita kakhulu emahola lamimangweni ngoba ayasithi nje kakhulu etinveni longeke uthi ngalesilungu ti monetary noma longathi converter to monetary terms ngoba utathi imalini kubamba imihlangano yemiphakathi ngaphandle kwaloko ukhanza ukuthi imishado yalonjela mbolonjeni seyitoba la all other income generating activities seyitokhona sive salambolonjeni ukuthi silusebenzise lelo hola ukuthi bakhe imali ngikuke kumcoka lokuthi ibe khona le management committee le committee letawubuka kusebenta kwalo lelo hola.
Umsolwa lo boshelwe kugagadlela umfana lona 15 budzala uthi yena bekathi lo mfana mdzala njengaloku yena bese yatiwana tihlobo talomfana kani ngisho make walomfana bekahlamletha lomfana kuye.
Lo msolwa luthi besatiwa ekhaya kubo lomfana lona 15 ibudzala ngilinda impilo Nhlabathi leminyaka le23 ibudzala kwakumahwalala umsolwa ushayela ikhumbi lehamba eMbabane nakumahwalala uze nakafika la nkantolo lenkulu wathi isalijaji la lenkantolo zonke magagula ukuthi bekacabanga ukuthi lo mfana sowengcile eminyakeni leng18 ibudzala uchubeka wathi isalijaji ukuthi sekulici nje impela athi simangala uthi simangala samatisa kulamanye emalungu emndeni waso uthi kude ngisho nasinye setihlobo lesamkhalimela noma samatisa ukuthi simangala sincane ngeminyaka umsolo uchubeka uthi kusuka lapho bebahle babonana nesimangali uthi kulesinye isikhathi isimangali besilethwa ngumake waso kuye ekhaya uthi naso lesi ngiletinye izathu lesamende abangasoli ngisho nakancane nje ukuthi isimangali sincane ngeminyaka. Umsolo wathi selijaji magagula ukuthi kumetfuze kakhulu ngalesibili ngesikhathi kufike emaphoyisa kuye ekhaya amthatha ayomhlohla imibutho ngebudlelwela nabo nesimangali wengeta ngokuthi kwaba kwekucala ngca kwathi kwakhe ukuthi simangali sincane ngeminyaka uthi ngaleto sizathu naselitekwa lelicala utiyaliphika njengaloku umsulwa yena uthi namanje ukubuka ngokuthi kulishwa lokuthi sekumele ativikele kulelicala leli umsolwa usolwa ngegagadlela lomfana asembolonjeni ngenyanga engongo leminyaka na 2025 umbuso uthi nalike nje umsolwa lamlahla lelicala uthe wenda isicelo sekuthi libito lakhe lifake ebhukwini leticukathe emabito labalahle ngemacala loluhlobo umbuso akwasiphikisa isicelo semsolwa sekutokela ngephandle lijaji magagula libeze linika umsolo imvume yokutekela ngephandle lebita imali nge50,000 emalangeni lijaji libeze lithi kule mali le akayishaye phansi bemaphepha leng4,000 emalangeni bese lelesele leng46,000 emalangeni ibasibambiso sembahla umsolo umelo ngummeli wakhe emxoli izidlamini lobikako Fortune Dlangamandla ngisenkantolo lenkulu.
Nakutemidlalo umsunguli weScar Tindwa Foundation Absalom Tindo uthi kuyajabulisa ukubona abantwana badlala ibhola ngalezinga la badlala ngalo. Tindo uthi by foundation lemidlalo yabo ehlose nekukhomba bona abantwana indlela lengiyo basebancane. Tindo hambe kakhuluma na kudlala imidlalo noma ke nakudlalwa imidlalo lendvulela emancamu etikola latodlalwa ngemgcibelo kalanga esiteki. Stephethalana ngomhlethi indzaba namhla ekseni sitawuthatha likhefu nasibuya Kusile Breakfast Show yachubeka.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
Usatla mahle siqhubeka neluhlelo lethu umlayeto lomkhulu lochamuka ka-National Maize Corporation njengoba ke sathi ukuthi sengiyo isizin yekuvuna sevele igetherisha i-momentum leningi kakhulu cishe live lonke ya-tension kenyalo seyasuka ekuthenini sibuke nje emasimi kuphela to ekuthenini sekuyabuka nokuthi kwentekani ngemuva kokuthi kuvunwe indzaba ke lenye leba indzaba lenkulu noma ke sigaba lesiba sikhulu kakhulu indzaba yesingisi bayibita nge-maize value chain kuyathiwa ukuthi kuba netindzaba ukuthi kube nabo poor handling laba bese babanga ukuthi kube nema losses lamanengi kakhulu ke tindzabeni tabo quality netindzaba temali kubo balimi tindzaba ke letinye letimcokwa tekuqinisekisa ekuthenini i-moisture content lekhona i-correct kangakanani before kwenteke bo shelling nabo delivery magama ke balimi labatawati lawa ekuthenini ke kufuna bente njani nathi ke sifuna kufunza lo mhla ukuthi ngabe si understanda kanjani ukuthi NMC ema depots akhe operator kanjani nekwekuthi balimi kufuna bagadze ini njoba basa collector umbila nawo ema payments lo mhla ekseni ke sifuna ukuthi sifundziseke kuloto tonke leto tinhlangothi leto ekuthenini ema producers atfole loyo mlayeto noma leyo milayeto lemcoka ekuthenini bakhone ukukhulisa nekumaximize i-value yayo i-harvest yabo babe bakhona nekumaintaina i-food security live la ngwane li-maintain i-food security sitawuxoxisana nazakhele Ngonyane enyalo long farm development officer noma ke umlimisi khona ka NMC babe Ngonyane sibonga isikhathi sakho lomhla ekseni semkhatsini wesikhathi la khona sithi siyavuna khona sithi harvest season ngesilungu engabe ungayichaza kanjani harvest season yalonyaka so far nekwekuthi ke ngumaphi ama trends leni wabonako cishe nje velonke
asibonge Mr. Ngumalo lithuba losipha lona singu National Maize Corporation vele sesikhathi la khona sekuyavunwa sekuyakhutulwa lesikunakako ngokuthi sivunwe emaswati anaso noma singasiso lebese sibhekile kodwa nje sikhona sihle lesikhona kulesimo lebese ke saba naso isizini isachubeka ikakhulu ngenyanga ya February la sibone khona kubade timvula kodwa nje maswati avunile isivuno siyethembisa ukuthi kukhona emaswati latakumikisa timakethe cishe bekusahamba kahle konke lesikunakile balimi sebavunile labanye basavuna ngobe labanye balimi sebanemishini yekuvuna khona le emasimini bakhiphe sekungile tinhlavu kungasayi enyangweni labanye ke babekile tinyangweni lesikunakile simo lesike saba naso cishe kusuka enyangeni ya May nayiyophela kuta kule ya June ize yaphela cishe sinake simo lesibekhona lesiphazamise koma kahle kwemmbila etinyangweni nakhona emasimini sithole ukuthi lizinga lekuba manti kwawo ummbila pheceleti i-moisture content isetulu kunalokho ejwayelekile. Eminyakeni kuye kuthi ngaletikhathi tabo June i-moisture isuke seyehlile kakhulu seyishaya bo 13% kuya kubo 12.5%. Kodwa lo nyaka lesikubonile sisayihlola immbila yeMaswati sithola ukuthi immbila isashaya ngetulu kwa 14% leminengi. Mincane kakhulu lengephasi kwaleli zinga la 14%. Kanti imakethe yaka NMC lizinga layo lithi 12.5 kuya ku 14%. Uma selingetulu kwalo 14% ayibisakhona kwemukela lo mmbila. Lesikuphethe-ke nxima lokuthi sendlulise kubo balimi naso sonke sive sasEswatini balimi ukuthi siyacela lokuthi balimi bamane babekebeketele kulesikhashana ummbila wabo uthi kwehlisa lizinga lekubamanti. Lesicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe kubangelele simo balimi nasibuka kube ngilesimo lesithi beside umoya lomkhulu kusukela enyangeni yaMeyi kuta kuJune. Umoya wahusha ngenyanga yaMeyi wase uyaphela ekhathi. Inyanga yaJune ayikabi nawo umoya lomkhulu lowenele ukuthi womise ummbila. Siyethemba nje-ke ukuthi ngoba nayo inyanga yaJulayi seyiyacala umoya sitawubona kumbe uba khona lotawuthatha lobumanti ubehlise kule mimbila yabo balimi bese bayakhona kuyiphutula bayimikise emakethe seyisezingeni lelemukelekile nalelifanele. Lo sikhuluma nje mhlawumbe msakati ukuthi siyabona la ngephandle kumbe tindzaweni letiningi sivile nathi la sikhona siyabona liyahusha namuhla umoya cishe mkhulu. Siyakholwa-ke lokuthi utawuchubeka kusita kona koma kwemmbila weMaswati. Sicela ukuthi eMaswati abeketele nje kakhulu kulokoma kwalo mmbila. Lo mmbila uyaye bese uyonakala msakati nangabe utawuthela noma ugcine etingungwini ungakefiki kuleli zinga la 14%. Uma usesengetulu ubese sekuyonakala. Siyaye sivame nje-ke emakhaya ukuthi sithi lithange liyafoma. Kanti lithange alifomi kusuke kungilo mmbila ungene unale moisture noma lobumanti busesetulu kakhulu nasebuphuma bona bese buhlala kuleli thange sekuyageleta sekonakala-ke sivuno sakhe. Umlimi sekumlahlekisela-ke nangayo inzuzo phela la bengayithola. Sicela nje kugcizelela kakhulu kuleli zinga lebumanti nalo lizinga lakhe NMC lelifake ekhathi ukuthi ngetulu kwale moisture balimi basakhutula baletha imakethe. Abanake ukuthi ngummbila lohlobile longenato tibi longenawo ematshe noma ngabe seyini nje lengaba yingoti kuloyo lotawusebentisa lo mmbila noma lotawuya kuyowugaya kusasa esigayweni ungalimati imishini ube ngilophephile lolungele ukuthi ungadliwa ngumuntu ube sezingeni lelifanele letempilo. Kuphinde kube ngummbila phela longakaboli nalongakonakali ukuthi sowuneliphunga lelingasiko lelimnandi. Ngoba kudla lokhu kuyodliwa sive sondla eMaswati njengaloku live liphumele umkhankaso lomkhulu wekuthi eMaswati atikhicitele kudla kufike ezingeni lelingilo lelifanele sime kuthenga kudla ngephandle. So eMaswati akamane anake loko kuyawasida-ke eMaswati msakati ukuthi angalahlekelwa timali athathe imimbila lengakalungi bese seyithola ukuthi ayemukeleki emakethe. Kuhlola-ke leli zinga msakati Yes, but kuhlola lelizinga lebumanti balombila mhlawumbe ngeke bakhone ukutibonela kodwa sinebalimisi labathe cithi saka Even lakangwane esifundeni sakaHoho bakhona babili elibonjeni babili eshiselweni babili kamanzini babili banawo ke mathulusi labasitla ngawo ukuthi bafike bamhlolele umlimi lo mbila ukuthi umanti kangakanani angake fiki la kakhutula khona noma angake fiki lapho sekawulayisha khona nangabe sewukhutuliwe ukuthi awulayishe awumikise phela emakethe abathintane nabo balimi babahlolele nase ukahle ke umbila bese uyahamba uya emakethe ukuze bangalahlekelwa noma bangangene etindlekweni le service leyo ke ayibhatalelwa msakade siyenta nje ngekusita emaswati kuwabambisa kungaze kube nemathabelangoti latawuchamuka seyathi siyakuhlolela umbila ngemali cha sikwenta mahhala sibalimisi baka NMC inkampani leyisithume kona ngingabeka umuno lapho msakati nangabe kukhona mhlawumbe lobo ufuna ukukubuda.
Ya ngonyane le indzaba nje lenkulu encenye lencansi lithuba lekufundisa siyalitfola nyalo kufundisa ukuthi le post harvest management bumcoka bayo kuyigcizelela ukuthi imcoka leni kanganga kulima in itself ngoba labanye bantu ba focus kakhulu lokulima growing the crop itself bese ba neglecta le post harvest management yonke nje basoyichazile ukuthi vele inema chains langakanani.
Yeah, thank you. Siyabonga. Balimi vele kufanele ukuthi la nakuhlolwa labacwaningako kutholakala ukuthi isivuno balimi siyabalahlekela kakhulu ngalesikhathi sebavuna sekuyale emakethe basaya kulondoloda ba emakethe kuyalahleka lokungaba bo 10% kuya ku 50% nangabe vele gcineki noma kwalondoloteka ngendlela lefanele letivuno tabo bathi kulima ngumalo ufike la uvuna khona kusuke kungahafu walolu hambo lwalomsebenzi lo hafu lomunye lomqoka kakhulu ngilowe ukuthi lesivuno usiphatha njani nase usivunile sewusilungisela ukuthi uye emakethe noma kuyosilondoloda ekhaya phela so kubalulekile lokuthi bakucikelele kakhulu balimi ngoba silahlekelwa kudla silahlekelwe nayimali ngalamazinga lasetulu uma ngabe singakugcini kahle dinyango nje siyayakhuthata lo sinyango yemlimi phela ayibe ngileta ushaywa ngumoya kahle uhambe wenele umoya komisa iphinde ibe inyango lephephile tilwaneni kungaba tilwane letimfuyo noma ke letinembuzane lesithi ngema-insects ngesilungu letifaka ekhathi tingobolwane nemavivane letingagcina setisonela lesivuno sigcine singafike ezingeni lekuya emakethe siphinde nemagundwane ngoba nawo ayangena etinyangweni gcine sekonakala uneliphunga lelibi umbila sewudliwe sewuhohlokile tiphinde letinyango tifuleleke ngoba na usolo unethwa lo mbila nakushintsha lesimo selitulu uyonakala kuyento engathi ayowukhutula umlimi ube sewunanaku kuba mnyama sewonakele ngalendlela lethi nasiwubuka thine ngelizinga lemarket akusesiyo i-white maize noma umbila lomhlophe kepha sengumbila lo wonakele longasamkhangi lofuna kuthenga ayowusebenzisa phela ukuthi adle noma agaye noma ente loko laka kwentako ngale product.
Mr. Ngonyane sibonga isikhathi sakho. Unfortunately sethu sobabili siphela lapha kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi balimi kuningi labakufunzile kuloko lo sobacathatele kuko ngobabe Ngonyane lo ngumlimisi ka-NMC ugcizelela ke tiluba letifaka ekhathi indzaba yemosha kufuna ukuthi nakwe indzaba ke yako bo shelling cishe nje kunengana balimi ke bay understand ngcono le language siyiphitha lapho enkulumo yethu sobabili sidaba hlola imarket sidabuya sichubeke.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Friday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show right here on Eswatini TV. Now, we're starting off the second half of the year 2026 on a high note. This morning, I'd like to recommend to you a book, Let It Flow by Lungile Faith Dlamini, a local author. She says this is a book for people navigating life. We all are, but you know, the importance of attitude when navigating life. And I'm joined now by the author herself, Lungile Dlamini, who is in the studio. Faith, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Hotel. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to have you in the studio. So I'll just start with the title, Let It Flow. You know, it suggests surrender in a world that tells us you've got to hustle, life is a bit chaotic. What inspired really the central message behind Lingwati, Let It Flow?
Okay. The message was inspired by a journey that I went through where I thought I was in control. I always make an example of when you're driving and you're at a point where there's, you know, when you're driving in a road that you are used to, you do not notice the signs that there's that particular road is under construction. And then, lo and behold, you get to a cul-de-sac and you're like, oh. And then somewhere there were signs that were telling you that there's an alternative route that you can take. So that's where it started. I was going through a journey in my life where it got, I can say, it was saying it's a cul-de-sac. And yet there's other alternative routes that I had to take.
Yeah.
So I had to pause and say, you know what, how do I make sure that I navigate this one? Step back to see where the signs were and then take the route. So that's what it came in. I must not force matters to go through the straight route that I knew could say but let me step back and see where the alternative route is and take that one.
You know, so, similar to Longa Hlelo on TV or every song, every other book has an audience of its own. Now, Bala, Let It Flow, who really did you have in mind?
Okay, initially, Nangibala, because like I said, I was going through a hard time in my life, which was around 2015, 2016. Yeah, I had the people who are in the similar situation. The temptation is that when someone looks at the book, abone a female author, no, it's not a book for women, it's for everyone. I do have a young person in that book that I am interested to. I will say why. I do have women, I have a man as well. I do have the elderly. That we want to control them. We want to have a say when and I want to have a say to say you can't marry to that. How then do I allow myself to trust the child enough to say, you know what, he or she made the decisions, I would say, and is ready to face that and just let it go and allow the child to go through. To the young person, I grew up as I grew up raised by my grandparents. You know how it is, meetings esikolweni kutamkhulu wami. And nakangumikise hostel, I stayed in a boarding school. Ngumkhulu wami nakatongivakashela ngumkhulu. The other children, the normal, the conventional way is that you have your biological parents and your mother being there in your life. But I had my grandparents. So just to say that every beginning is important and it carries some lessons that chances are what you are wishing for wouldn't have given you. So to the young person, it is that wherever you are, whatever is presented to you, where you do not have control over. You know, I woke up and the day I opened my eyes, who I called dad and mom was my grandparents. I did not have control over that. My biological parents were alive. I love them. My dad passed last year. I love them. But they were not there. I was raised by my grandparents, but Dalba Magwam. So that's, as you grow older, being a teenager, this is a situation that you want to change, but you can't. It is presented to you. So to that young person, I have a story to tell. I want to say it will not define where you're going, but it will give you some nuggets that you will use in life.
And indeed, through Let It Flow, you are telling a story.
Yes.
You say the book is designed or was written for everyone, rather. Before we get into the chapters, what exactly do you hope the readers will let flow when they read from the first chapter to the 8th?
Okay, to the first chapter, it's just about beginning. Maybe not where your young age, but to life. Every time in life you find yourself in the beginning of something. Now, do not despise that. Do not take it lightly. Allow yourself. I was listening to Oprah the other day, and she was interviewing someone. And the person that she was interviewing would say, do not judge your chapter 1 with someone else's last chapter, which is the end. And then feel like you are not there. So that's the first chapter. It is talking to that anyone, there's always a beginning. You come into a job, you find yourself as a junior officer. And now figure ukanze uphethwe ngumfubona university or akakuphathi wena directly but he's in the executive wena uyafika nje as you are not even in management. That is the beginning, and be okay with that. I have had a number of beginnings in my life, and I have learned to say this is my journey. And a comparison, the first part is just saying let's stop comparing. Because you don't know my story. Yeah, stick to yours. Then the second one is mindfulness. I may not have them all the sequence in my head, but it's I will just pick those that I would like to talk to. Mindfulness in this perspective, it talks about awareness. Awareness of yourself, awareness of your environment and the people that you are around. Awareness of your everyday life, yourself being your emotions, your thoughts, even your physical body, because every day your physical body is telling you something, it's telling you a story. Oh, not okay today, you wake up with a headache, what exactly is bothering me? So that's the awareness. So when you are aware, when you are in the mindful state, you are not standing as a judge. You are standing as a person to say, how can I understand this and make sure that I go through it without judging whatever situation is there?
I'm not sure how long it took you to draft the book, but given the lessons that led to the book, why did you feel that maybe this was the right time, or this was just about the perfect life experience to write and release the book?
Okay, it took me about 10 years. Safely to say it started 2016. The journaling and even the topic of it, that title of the book, yes. I got it 2016. In my journal, when I started, I just said to myself, I wrote next to the top, I said, Lungile, let it flow. And then the first chapter, by the way, came through 2022. years later. Otherwise, the other chapters were about the life that I was going through.
They were already a work in
yes.
progress.
So when I was journaling, when I started, like I said, I was going through divorce at that particular time. So I would come back home, review the day.
Yeah.
How was the day? How are you? I speak to myself a lot. Not njengelhlanya, but I get to speak. I converse a lot with myself. That's where the awareness is, the mindfulness is. In the conversations that I have, I review the day in the morning before I go out. When we grew up at school, so I have a nickname that I have that I used to use at school, and they used to call me Jack Nicholson. So you find all other things that you will use around the Jack Nicholson, Jack Hydo, Jack Roll. So I wake up, I have a mirror in my bedroom, full view. I stand in front of that mirror and I ask myself, Jack Roll, how are you? Yeah, so it depends on how I feel. Sometimes I ask myself, Lou, Coach Lou, how are you feeling? It depends on how I wake up in the morning and I want to present myself. And before I go, I pass by that mirror and I tell myself, you look beautiful. And then I say, Asambe Siyobangena, check. So since Siyobangena, we go into that day. I come back, they know, even the kids, they know that when I walk into my room, I don't want to be followed, please. I want to have a conversation with, just a 2 minutes conversation. I pass by the mirror, how was your day? And then we view it. And then sometimes I was like,
Yeah.
And then, and I will punctuate that with, you know what, it's okay. Tomorrow is another day.
You're a life coach, a speaker, mental health advocate. Coming from you, these one-on-one conversations, why do you think they matter so much that as an individual, before you start your day and just before you end your day, you take a look in the mirror and say, Nosile, this is what went wrong, this is what went right, this is what we need to do better. Why do you think those personal conversations with oneself actually matter?
In psychology, we say the voice that you listen to and understand better is your voice. When I say to you, not saying you are smart, until you repeat it to yourself, you won't believe it. So, and the negative stories that we have been told about ourselves, or whatever they want to say to you, the reason why they stuck to you and you believed it is because you repeated it to yourself. Remember, when you are thinking, you use your voice. Once you think, you use voices. So once you think about it so much, you are using your tone and you're repeating it to yourself until you believe that vele ustvom, or nothing will work out, and whatever else they say. So if you teach yourself self-conversations, talking to yourselves, now you are taking control of yourself to say whatever else other voice that I'll meet today will not supersede the one that I have told myself. So if you feel like it is happening even during the day, find a moment where you're going to step back and talk to yourself, regroup and say, you know what, this is not true. So that's important. In the coaching, we say that let your voice be louder than the other voices, especially when the other voices are ministering negativity.
Some would put it and say none of the external factors define you except you. Back to the book. You have 8 chapters. Chapter 1, do not despise any beginnings. I think that is deduced from a very famous scripture. You talk about your upbringing with your being raised by your grandparents. Looking back today, what is the greatest lesson that they, whether they knew it then or they didn't, but it shapes your decision making today? Okay,
the basis of our upbringing was Christianity. They taught us faith. Those people believed in God like nobody's business. And then my grandfather was a peaceful man. And I remember that there were certain things, as you grow older, there are certain things that you would look at them and you would like, would say, Alwela. But he would always present Christ. And then such that in our area, La Sakulela Kona, Bebambitanga Mfundis, he was not a pastor, he was just an elder in the church. But the way he presented himself, a very calm man and a strong believer in God. they taught us faith, such that it doesn't matter what situation I face, I just step into that faith. They taught us resourcefulness. My grandmother was such a resourceful girl. She loved money. So anything and anything anything she used to bake, cook. So those are the things that they taught us. I am very grateful for that, such that even if I can lose a job, I believe that I can live.
Yeah.
Because my hands can do a lot of things. I bake, I cook, if I can say so myself.
Proverbs 31 woman.
So they taught us, she's the one that taught us that on top of your certificates, my grandfather was a learned one, my grandma was not, but on top of the certificates, you must be resourceful. Your hands must be able to do something.
Yeah.
So I step back and I look, that's why I included it in the chapter, that, there are certain things that I didn't know that I'm picking from them, but they helped me through this difficult journey, and the attitude of faith, believing that, what, chances are I wake up today, it's the day for my breakthrough.
Right.
It's the day for my healing. It's the day where I will come out of this cloud that I feel like I'm in.
Okay.
So that's the things that I learned from them. I am very grateful for that.
And coming to chapter 2, cultivating a culture of mindfulness.
Yes.
What is mindfulness really?
Okay, mindfulness, like I said earlier, is being aware of your circumstances, yourself. Most importantly, that you must be aware of yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, and it's okay to feel them. We are taught to see a strong man, and those are the things that then make us see best at some point. So it's okay to feel hurt at some point, not to feel okay at some point. However, when you are aware of that, you then drill down to what caused that, without being judgmental, either to a person or to yourself. The awareness helps you to pause and not act out of emotion. So we are cornered to look the control. I chose that chapter because mostly now it is used by the people with the new age. It's a psychological, it's a topic of psychology where we talk about mindfulness. But now it was hijacked by those that are speaking about the new age, meditation and manifestation and stuff. But mindfulness is still there in the Bible, where you find it mostly in the book of Psalms, where you find the psalmist saying something and then says, Selah. Basically, they are saying, pause, think about it.
Yeah.
Internalize whatever you've read. Meditate on what it is saying. So mindfulness is about that in life, that when I am faced with a situation, or when Notsile says something to me, before I react, let me pause, internalize it. Don't be a judge. Allow her to present her story as is. So it has a different, it's more theoretical, the chapter 2, talking about the mindfulness, matching it with scripture though.
Right.
Yeah.
In a sense, the mindfulness is blended with biblical principles, and as humans or believers, we can be very skeptic, of mindfulness, because it's somehow Eastern. How do you reconcile the two, being mindful and also being spiritually cognizant at the same time?
I chose to do it in the book. I made it to rest on scriptures. It's just about meditation on the goodness of God.
Yeah.
Yes, mostly. It is about when I wake up in the morning, I feel, that day is when you feel like you wake up, as I said earlier on, that I wake up, sometimes I call myself Coach Lou, because I feel like I want to be in control. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like it's a good day. I call myself a Tamche Kaido, So days are not the same, but mindfulness says you intentionally put yourself in a space where you want to be. So when you wake up in the morning and you check yourself, you feel like I'm a 7 out of 10 when it comes to, or 6 out of 10. How then do I take myself intentionally to at least 9 or somewhere closer to 10 than being at the 6. So that's where mindfulness comes in, that I do a check of myself. How am I mentally? How am I physically? Your body always speaks to you. How am I physically? How am I emotionally? And then you gather those. There are days when I will wake up and listen to a sermon because I feel spiritual, I'm not okay. That's the mindfulness. I'm mindful of that. There are days where I will wake up and blast with praise songs, and I will sing in the shower and blast the house with praise, make noise even for the kids, because I am mindful that I just need some lifting in my spirit or something. There are days where I wake up into a motivation. There are days where I wake up like I feel like celebrating. Like today is my sister's birthday. So
I'll take it you're a woman of the cloth, yes. But in modern day, individually we're battling different things. And there's this conversation around mental health and being able to speak up and speak about the things that are bothering you. But it's difficult to do that, or should I say members of the church kind of have a different understanding of mental health. They will say pray about it. How do I deal with something internally if I'm not speaking about it, but when I do speak about it, my brothers and sisters will tell me, pray about it? How does that really work? I'm trying to balance the two subjects here.
My advice there is that look for someone that is going to listen to you. By virtue of me being a Christian or fellow brother, doesn't mean I can counsel you. Yes, counseling is learned. So you know how I can speak to you, and I know how I can listen to you. Listen to you to understand what you're going through. And then remember, counseling is not for me to give you solutions, because solutions, they lie inside of you. It's just to guide you, to help you come out of the cloud, so that you're able to see that these are the solutions that I can come up with. So I think our biggest mistake that we have done in church is that I would see Sister Lungile being very spiritual and assume that she will be able to address a mental health issue. Yet I will need someone else that is qualified in that space. So I know that in churches, maybe not all of them, we have taken the issue of mental health into another level. There are trained counselors now in church, yeah. So it will depend on the comfort. Who do you want to tell your story? So you can go to whoever in church. If not in church, then seek for help outside. Otherwise, very structured analysis is fasted 3 days or 7 days. And it won't, basically, not to say prayer and fasting doesn't help, but you are not in a position of realizing that it will help you at that particular time. You probably need someone to listen to you, or you probably need someone to help you just a little bit, lift up your head from the waters that are covering you to be able to see a way forward.
But as a mental health advocate, how would you advise faith communities to approach the subject of mental health just a bit more than pray about it?
We want to pray about it.
But we need to do more than just praying about it.
Yes, like I said, in most churches, I know that a number of churches are now taking it serious. They are aware that sometimes when you are in it, the situation has covered you and you're overwhelmed. You know what, prayer is not what you want to do. You just want to hear someone saying it's going to be okay. You just want to hear someone calling you the next day and say, how are you? And listen to you and saying how you are without you tiptoeing and appearing as a weak vessel when you are saying how you are feeling. So there are churches that are now taking it serious. To those that are still feeling like we don't want to talk about mental health, we want to talk about spiritual, I would encourage that we do so. There are so many biblical verses that you can use when you're doing the counseling, when you are addressing the person who's going through. But it has to be someone that is trained. Not necessarily you being a psychologist, but there are short courses that train people to counsel. There's also workshops that some churches open up to have some people that are out there in the mental health organizations that they allow them to come to the churches to equip their counselors in the church, so that they're able to address. I would encourage the churches to tap into that.
Right. If we could wrap it up briefly, it can be very difficult to let things flow or let it flow when we're living in a social media age where there's often I'm exposed to a lot of things and comparison then comes in. What's your advice to young people, especially young people who feel like they're falling behind in life? They should have achieved this and that by the age of 30, but no, things are just not falling in places yet. How can they let it flow?
My advice would be embrace uniqueness. And once you understand that your journey is not like other people's journey, then you will be able to let it flow. And with a clean heart, celebrate your friend's success when yours is still not there. When you also it's not clear that it's coming. You are able to celebrate because you understand that it's not yet my time. Those were one of the lessons that, the wisdom that I gathered from my grandfather. He used to say that when we were going to school, we had a hostel, and then on Sunday you're preparing to go to school, then there'll be that prayer that he will do and some verses as you go. The last words that he will give you before you walk out that door, he would say to me, Lungile, ungakhohlwa la ubuya khona. So that it became a wisdom that I walk with throughout school. I mentioned that I never could, but the mandate of go pass school never left me. Right. So also, Bantwana, that's the young people is that if you know where you're going, then it will be easy for you not to be swallowed by what is happening around you. Just if I do have a minute to talk about, there's a community that I started called Achievers. It is a community of young people where we are basically having accountability partners, tapping into what I learned from work as a human resource person. At work we have performance management. Out of performance management, you plan these goals, you plan and you work towards your goals. So life not planned, it happens to you. Yeah. So the communities for that, I teach the young people to plan their lives. Our slogan is dream before you sleep. I know that you are taught singemaswati kuthiwa nangabe kune TV ekhaya mvusena yolala. So in the community we say go before you fall asleep and go on your bed and just start imagining yourself where you want to be. So once you get where you want to be, let's trace back, where are you? If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a cardiologist, what are the things that are required for a cardiologist? Then you map your way towards that. That will help you, that you are not swallowed with what is happening around you, and then competition and comparison and everything, because you are focused. So you have accountability partners, someone that is saying, you know, whatever you promised yourself is not what you're doing, is not in line with what you're doing.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, Ngozi. That was Lungile Faith Dlamini, author of Let It Flow. From me to you, life happens. Let it flow. This is the Friday edition of Kusile Prefer Show. We'll go for a break. The show continues after this.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@escom.org.za. For more information, visit www.escom.org.za.
Welcome back. And moving on to our international update. Police in Monaco and France were searching for a suspected bomber on Tuesday after 3 people were wounded by an explosion in the wealthy principality, which 2 sources said was an attack on a Ukrainian-born oligarch. The suspect is believed to have fled on foot to France, Monaco prosecutor Stephanie Thibault said after the attack on Monday evening involving a parcel bomb.
A manhunt is underway in Monaco. It was here on Rue de Révérend Père Frolat, near the border with France, that a parcel bomb exploded near the entrance of a residential block on Monday evening. These images shared on social media show firefighters carrying a person away on a stretcher. Addressing the press, the Principality's prosecutor said the suspect remains at large.
There is a lone man present at this address who drops off a package. Shortly before, the 3 occupants of the ground floor apartment of this building come to the door, and the package explodes as these 3 people arrive.
The explosion injured 3 people, including wealthy Ukrainian businessman Vadim Yermolayev. One of the 3 injured is a woman in a life-threatening condition, while her partner and a 13-year-old child remain in hospital, having suffered less severe injuries. According to the public prosecutor's office, the suspect fled on foot to France, and an investigation has now been launched.
Coordinating with French authorities, we are pursuing him in order to identify and apprehend him, I hope quickly. The investigation has been opened for attempted murder and placing explosive substances or devices on public roads. As such, it is not classified as a terrorist act.
Ranked as Ukraine's 23rd richest person in 2022, Vadim Yermolayev founded a conglomerate operating in the property, agri-food and construction sectors. In December 2023, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky imposed sanctions on Yermolayev as part of a broader package targeting individuals and companies Kyiv said had business links to Russia or Russian-occupied territories.
Despite a U.S.-sponsored agreement paving the way for peace between Lebanon and Israel, the actual situation on the ground is unchanged. Israel continues to occupy southern Lebanon and launched targeted strikes there over the weekend. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu visited the occupied area and vowed his army will not withdraw as long as Hezbollah is still there.
Wearing a bulletproof vest, Benjamin Netanyahu greets his troops in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Prime Minister crossed the border to visit the area his army has occupied for several months, ever since hostilities with Hezbollah resumed in early March. He took the opportunity to reaffirm his intention to stay there.
We are adamant that we will not leave southern Lebanon until the threat is eliminated, and as long as Hezbollah is armed and is here threatening us, we will remain. Lebanon recognizes Israel, Israel recognizes Lebanon, and we're telling both Iran and Hezbollah, get out of here, you have no business here.
According to the framework agreement signed by the 2 nations Friday, Israel will leave southern Lebanon once Hezbollah lays down its arms. Many experts consider this condition unrealistic. The powerful Shiite militia refuses to disarm, and the Lebanese state and army lack the ability to force it. The agreement also calls for the creation of so-called pilot zones, areas where Israeli forces will withdraw and transfer control over to the Lebanese army. According to maps released by the Israeli government, one of these zones includes the village of Frun in southern Lebanon. The town has been devastated by the war, and its mayor says the decision to designate it as a pilot zone makes no sense.
This really outraged us as a municipality and as residents because Frun is outside of the Yellow Line and isn't occupied. There aren't any Israeli soldiers here. The Lebanese army has been deployed here throughout the war and remains here.
With Hezbollah still armed and Israeli soldiers still in place, the situation in southern Lebanon appears deadlocked. For thousands of displaced residents, this means returning home remains out of reach.
The anti-migrant protesters in South Africa blame foreigners for the nation's unemployment and high crime. It's a familiar story for South Africans. This is the biggest of such demonstrations since 2008, when a wave of anti-migrant violence spread across the country. Nearly 2 decades later, in May 2008, a wave of xenophobic riots started in Johannesburg before spreading across the country.
Thousands turned out Tuesday across South Africa to rally against illegal immigration. Months of unrest have been driven by their belief that migrants are the cause of high unemployment in the country and an increase in crime and drugs.
We're here to make our grievances known to the government and for them to know that we're tired of them not doing anything about the issue of illegal immigrants.
Tensions are high because South Africans have seen similar grievances explode into extreme violence. Nearly 2 decades earlier, in May 2008, a wave of xenophobic riots started in Johannesburg before spreading across the country. Foreigners, particularly from Zimbabwe and Mozambique, were targeted and blamed for crime and economic woes.
I don't want these people here. I want them to go back to their home because they've got no job because of them.
62 people were killed, including a number of migrants stabbed, hacked, or brutally burned alive. Tens of thousands of foreigners fled their homes, crowding into community centers and makeshift camps.
It's like a political thing now. If the government does not have the answer to why there is this unemployment, prices are going high and so forth, and it seems as if it's the song of every government that if there is a problem, they find a scapegoat.
South Africa's president at the time called the riots
a disgrace, a humiliating disgrace for our nation.
But in the years that followed, there was little to no socioeconomic change for poor South Africans, and anger simmered. Until in 2015, there was another upsurge in xenophobic attacks that killed at least 8 people. Then again in 2019 and 2022. Now today, migrants are once again being targeted and lining up by the thousands to leave out of fear for their lives.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday defended earning $1.4 billion from his family's cryptocurrency activities last year, saying everybody's profiting from his time in power. Taking his maiden flight aboard a new Air Force One plane gifted by Qatar, Trump rejected criticism that he was using his presidency to enrich himself. In quote, "You know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting," Trump told reporters.
And last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. And
Donald Trump's annual financial filing showed an eye-popping figure. During his first year back in office, $1.4 billion of income from cryptocurrency ventures. The massive windfall was made possible by the U.S. president's own pro-crypto policies. And Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, are calling out what they say are ill-gotten gains.
The crypto legislation heading to the Senate floor must prevent the president, vice president, senior administration officials, members of Congress and their families from profiting off the crypto industry. If it does not, it will only turbocharge Donald Trump's brazen crypto corruption.
In 2019, Trump said he was not a fan of crypto, saying its value was based on air. However, $635 million of his haul came thanks to royalties from his Trump meme coin, with another $500 million via World Liberty Financial, the crypto company co-founded by his 2 eldest sons and the son of his top diplomatic envoy, Steve Witkoff. The meme coin, a novelty digital token aimed at the president's diehard base and speculators, was released just prior to his second inauguration and seen its price fall from an initial peak of $45 to less than $2. Customers saw their investment burn, with the president continuing to earn fees on every transaction. In 2025, a company connected to the government of Abu Dhabi bought a 49% stake in World Liberty Financial for $500 million. This was shortly before the Trump administration approved the delivery of thousands of cutting-edge AI microprocessors to the Gulf Emirate. Trump has denied any conflict of interest.
Critics say you're profiting off the presidency.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump.
Cryptocurrencies are not Donald Trump's only sources of income. He has also earned hundreds of thousands of dollars from merchandise marketed to his MAGA base, including Bibles bearing his name. The money is managed by his son while he is in office, but will come back under his control when he leaves the White House.
Fable and Mythos are coming back online. Leading U.S. AI company Anthropic says the U.S. Commerce Department has lifted export controls on the AI models less than 3 weeks after the company was ordered to suspend access to them over national security risks. Washington has stepped up oversight of new model releases to identify potential threats amid concerns that advanced AI models could be misused by military intelligence in China, Russia, or other countries of concern.
After banning their tech and calling them left-wing nut jobs, Donald Trump seems to have changed his mind on Anthropic. His administration has now lifted its restrictions on the latest technology from the artificial intelligence company.
Anthropic has agreed to proactively detect and address security risks associated with the models, to work diligently with the U.S. government on protocols and standards and releases for Mythos, Fable, and future models.
Anthropic's AI models Mythos and Fable were blocked worldwide on the 12th of June after Washington banned them from being exported on national security grounds. The administration and Anthropic have been at loggerheads since the American raid on Venezuela in January, when a spat erupted around the use of its tools by the military. Washington wants to be able to use American AI tech however it wants, but Anthropic says it won't allow its models to be used for lethal autonomous weapons or domestic surveillance. In recent weeks, though, the rhetoric has softened.
Do you view Anthropic, and to a degree its CEO, Dario Amodei, as a threat to national security?
Well, not now, but a week ago, maybe. Seems like a nice guy, smart guy.
Fable is available to the general public, but Mythos is only for select clients in cybersecurity and government. It's the company's most powerful AI model yet, exceptionally good at finding weaknesses in software, which makes it strategically important to the US.
As the death toll in Venezuela nears 2,000 following back-to-back earthquakes, the aftershocks of the disaster are beginning to make themselves felt. Almost 60,000 buildings are thought to have been damaged or destroyed, while more than 10,000 have been injured, leaving hospitals at breaking point. As food shortages become more widespread and diseases proliferate, NGOs are calling for a scaling up of aid efforts to prevent a humanitarian catastrophe.
Overcrowding, backlogs, and a breakdown in biosafety measures. These are just a few of the challenges facing Venezuelan hospitals in the aftermath of last week's earthquake. As the country is still reeling from its worst natural disaster in a century, the World Health Organization is sounding the alarm over what could be an imminent public health emergency.
Services are under extreme pressure now, with facilities operating beyond the capacity and the surge and the trauma cases. We risk now of outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases, such as measles, diphtheria, pertussis, as well as yellow fever and other vector and waterborne diseases.
Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations are warning that survivors face growing risks from hunger and disease, with food shortages widespread and basic services broken down. In La Guaira, one of the country's worst-hit states, resources are scarce and tensions are rising.
Everyone is killing each other to get their food rations. It is like a cockfight. Yesterday they started throwing punches. Everything is madness here.
It comes as humanitarian organizations have called for higher aid budgets to help support affected Venezuelans over the coming months. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, said on Tuesday it would need almost $15 million to scale up aid and temporary shelter for 30,000 people over a 6-month period.
Central and Eastern Europe are now taking the brunt of an extreme heat wave that has swept Europe in recent days as it moves further east. Among the countries seeing soaring temperatures is Ukraine, where the war-battered energy grid is struggling to cope amid the surge in demand for electricity.
Central and Eastern Europe are now bearing the brunt of the deadly heatwave that's scorching the continent. In Slovakia, it hit its hottest day on record with 41 degrees Celsius, while in Hungary's capital, Budapest, people try to cool off however they can.
I hardly left home and I'm sweating all over. This is simply unbearable. I did not leave the house for 2 days, but I ran out of bread, of everything, so I had to.
The Hungarian Prime Minister Péter Magyar wants government employees to work from home where possible. He's requested that restaurants give out drinking water and air-conditioned public venues stay open. It's not the only country suffering from the extreme temperatures. In neighbouring Serbia, the official weather service says the mercury will reach 40 degrees Celsius in certain parts on Tuesday.
It's our own fault. We did it. We throw waste everywhere. The atmosphere is polluted. Science has had its say on this topic, and that's it. If we continue like this, will we survive or not?
While Ukraine, already under enormous strain from the war, now has to contend with blistering temperatures. Despite the threat of Russian attacks, many head to Odessa's beaches on the Black Sea.
We get by however we can. Thank God there's still electricity now. We can turn on the air conditioner, but otherwise, thank God for the sea.
The heat is impacting the country's struggling energy network, which faced Russian attacks over the winter. Summer is usually the time to make repairs. Authorities enforced some emergency power outages and said more would be on the way on Tuesday.
France's Green Party said Tuesday it planned to bring a vote of no confidence against the government over its response to deadly heat waves that have claimed at least 1,000 lives. France experienced 5 days of unseasonably high temperatures in May, followed by a record-breaking 11-day heat wave this month. The country on Wednesday faced its hottest day since measurements began in 1947, with a national average temperature of 30 degrees Celsius.
Inside France's National Assembly, politicians came out swinging at what was set to be an ordinary round of questions for the government.
Under your government, the heat wave has turned into political violence.
France's Green Party kicked off the meeting with a harsh attack on Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu. Many in the party have said that France's recent spell of sweltering temperatures likely caused 10,000 deaths. It's a long cry from the figures recently reported by the French Public Health Agency. They say that 1,000 more people died during the heat wave than over the same period last year. Visibly irritated, the Prime Minister pushed back on the Greens, saying that their sweeping claims of a killer heat wave had gone too far.
Where are you getting this figure of 10,000 deaths? You and your colleagues, including your colleague President Gontard in the Senate and Representative Rousseau, have been appearing on television for more than 3 days now, presenting a death toll that is false. It's scandalous. It's disgraceful.
But this fiery exchange has done nothing to slow down the Greens. On Tuesday, the group filed a vote of no confidence against Lecornu's administration and called for a committee to investigate the government's response to last week's extreme temperatures.
June was the hottest month on record for the world's oceans, and scientists are concerned that the months ahead could bring even more extreme and erratic weather. The onset of the weather phenomenon El Nino could boost global heat on both land and sea throughout 2026 and possibly into 2027. So what is El Nino and why is it important to understand in an increasingly warming world?
It's a climate phenomenon with global implications. El Niño, meaning little boy or Christ child in Spanish, dates back to the 1600s, when fishermen along the Pacific coast of South America started observing warmer waters and less fish every few years. It is now an event that can unleash floods, droughts, heatwaves and storms across different parts of the world.
El Niño is not just knocking on the door, it risks blowing the house down, turning up the heat, disrupting food and water systems, and hitting the vulnerable the hardest.
El Niño takes place every 2 to 7 years, alternating with its cooler counterpart La Niña. Consistent winds, known as trade winds, typically push warm ocean surface water west towards Asia in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. The winds weaken and the warmer surface water shifts back east, causing more heat to rise into the air, reducing the upwelling of cold water near South America and changing global atmospheric circulation and weather patterns. Wetter and stormier conditions can arrive to the south of the United States and parts of South America, with the risk of more floods. Droughts can batter South Asia and Australia, increasing the likelihood of wildfires. And global average temperatures tend to increase, causing potential crises when coupled with human-induced climate change.
And the World Meteorological Organization has warned, we ain't seen nothing yet.
Scientists officially declare El Niño when sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean rise 0.5 degrees Celsius above average for several consecutive months, corresponding with changes in the atmosphere.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected President Donald Trump's bid to restrict birthright citizenship in a blow to one of his signature anti-immigration initiatives. The court, in an eagerly awaited decision on the final day of its term, ruled 6-3 to maintain the right to American citizenship for nearly everyone born on U.S. soil.
The U.S. Supreme Court has delivered a major blow to Donald Trump. Nearly every person born on US soil will retain the right to American citizenship. The 6-3 ruling, delivered by Chief Justice John Roberts, upheld the long-held interpretation of a pivotal clause from the Constitution.
Children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause.
Hours after he was sworn into office for a second term, the US president signed an executive order to limit birthright citizenship. However, it was quickly challenged and blocked by lower courts. Trump then pushed even harder, attending in person the oral arguments in the Supreme Court. A key claim by his Solicitor General was that the amendment in question was encouraging illegal immigration into the country.
It has spawned a sprawling industry of birth tourism as uncounted thousands of foreigners from potentially hostile nations have flocked to give birth in the United States in recent decades.
The American Civil Liberties Union, however, defended the importance of upholding the Constitution and argued that the proposed change would be logistically chaotic and impact hundreds of thousands of people each year.
Thousands of American babies will immediately lose their citizenship. And if you credit the government's theory, the citizenship of millions of Americans, past, present, and future, could be called into question.
But the final day of the Supreme Court term was not a total loss for the president's agenda. Among the day's rulings, a law banning transgender girls and women from playing school sports in roughly half of American states was upheld. And the justices ended limits on campaign spending by political parties at federal elections, paving the way for big money to have an even bigger role in US politics.
More than 1 million undocumented migrants in Spain have sought legal status under a scheme that has defied a European crackdown on irregular immigration. The government said this on Tuesday, the final day for submissions. The vast scheme was predicted to benefit around at least 500,000 people, most from Latin America, when the left-wing government launched it in April.
Outside an immigration office in Madrid on Tuesday, a few people were taking advantage of the last day of a scheme to regularize their undocumented status.
For
those of us who truly come to work and don't do anything bad here in the country, it seems very good to me, and we're grateful. It's like saying we're here to contribute, to do our part, so that the many seniors who need us to contribute can receive their pension.
The scheme opened in April and has smashed expectations. Officials expected 500,000 applications, mostly from Latin Americans, and ended up with more than 1 million. It's a far cry from the immigration-hostile policies taking root elsewhere in Europe and the United States. However, Spain's left-wing government and its Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez have long argued of the need for immigrants, not just to sustain the economy, but the welfare state and pensions as its population ages. Sanchez warned that without immigrants, Spain faced the loss of 19% of its GDP in less than 25 years and 22% in under 50.
¿Y esto qué significa? From a business and labor market perspective, that would mean, for example, that 90,000 bars would be forced to shut down. 50,000 primary and secondary school classrooms would be left without pupils, and around 220,000 farms would disappear. That's 1 in 3.
While critics on the right wing are mounting legal challenges to suspend the process, successful applicants that can prove a clean criminal record and have spent a minimum of 5 consecutive months in Spain before January 1st will get a 1-year renewable residency permit.
France's Senate passed a bill on Monday aimed at curbing online fast fashion retailers such as Shein, Temu and AliExpress after more than 2 years of debate and discussion between the upper and lower houses of parliament. Under the law, ultra-fast fashion companies face fines between £0.25 and €6 per product this year, rising as high as €10 per product in 2030.
A bill to curb the rise of ultra-fast fashion. Adopted by the French Parliament on Monday, the legislation puts the brakes on the rapid expansion of the unsustainable fashion model. It would target the main players driving the surge: Temu, AliExpress and Shein.
We needed a bill that could move through the process very quickly and be operational. We're coming down very hard on Shein, and that's the first step.
The measure puts in place a penalty system targeting the least environmentally responsible companies while attempting to safeguard the French textile industry. It also imposes a ban on advertising for ultra-fast fashion brands and a per-item fee for producing textile en masse that will increase over time. This levy could reach up to €20 per item by the year 2030, and a part of these penalties would go towards recycling infrastructure. The textile sector accounts for nearly 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but fast fashion brands and platforms in particular stand accused of flooding the market with low-quality, rock-bottom priced products, generating mountains of waste and contributing to significant pollution. But some have criticized the legislation for sparing European and French companies such as Zara and Kiabi, with some lawmakers from left-leaning parties in both chambers abstaining during the vote.
Amid the World Cup euphoria, sports betting is surging, but illegal betting is also on the rise and gambling risks, including addiction, remain part of the game. Elitsa Gadeva looks into the numbers and explains what's driving the growth.
This year's World Cup could break many records, including in sports betting. With more matches and more teams, betting is now permitted in even more countries worldwide. Analysts estimate that around €52 billion will be legally placed in bets across the world during the tournament. That's nearly 70% more than during the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And France is all in on the gambling trend. Up to €1.2 billion in bets could be placed during this World Cup alone. But there's a wider trend. In 2025, the French gambling market reached €14.1 billion in gross gaming revenue.
Online sports betting is the fastest growing sector with a 10% yearly growth. That's because today, in a matter of seconds, anyone can bet on anything with just their phone. But during this World Cup, illegal betting could exceed legal betting globally. In Europe alone, the illegal market is estimated to be worth over 80 billion euros, accounting for more than 70% of online betting. There are many risks, like exposure to fraud and a lack of financial protection. Legal or illegal, sports betting could lead to addiction and debt. The danger lies in the illusion of control. Gamblers often claim they know football and the players, and they think predicting the result should be an easy task. But the gambling model remains the same. In the long run, it's the bookmaker who comes out on top.
And with that, we conclude our international update. Kusile Breakfast Show continues after this.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Maswahla mahle siqhubekane luhlelo lethu singena ku-interview segment yethu yekugcina sinagogo ke studio lomuhla utawukhumbula ukuthi eminyakeni lophelile ngaso sona lesikhathi lesi besinayo gogo siteka indzaba siyagucuka yaba ngidzaba mlonyeni eveni indzaba ye pheceleti i-mental health kuthenini ingabe vele simo sengqondo sikanjani emangweni kakhulu ke kibo bogogo nasilwane bathide asikhulumise yemadvodza indzaba mfowethu ugrand mental health amongst men in our societies gogo ke utasitekela kabanti ngale edition yalonyaka nekwekuthi sibonile ukuthi tikhuluma talonyaka kungathi setiningi kakhulu bantu ba excited wonke umuntu ukhuluma ngayo le edition lena gogo siyakwamukela ehlelweni and sibonga kakhulu ukuthi usiphe nje isikhathi sakho lomhla ekseni siphindze sishayela tandla lomsebenzi wemfowethu ugrand mangireflecta conversation yethu eminyaka lophelile kunengi nami lokwangikhuthada ngahamba ngayokhwetela nami emajaheni lengwadiko lengisonzelene nawe engabe lonyaka uma sithi mfowethu ugrand engabe ngitiphi indzaba lesithi siyawudicoca lapha
Zwide ngibonga kungiphalela ithuba lethi ngingavela la ngibuke nginasive lesemhlaba wonke ngoba la sebayakhona kusithola nabo mava bomakhelwane ngiyabonga kakhulu nje kuba ingcenye yaleli hlelo namhla ekuseni ikakhulu ngoba kukhulunywa ngempilo na ukhuluma ngempilo thina umsebenzi wethu njengama comedians to bring laugh tries to neutralize lempilo ebukeke imnanzi tiba khona ke tingoni leti sichukuludako ukuthi hey sivungaza ukuthi lo mjovo awusesi enough sekuthi ngeke amaphilisi tikwalomjovo ngilake khona umjovo wethu kuyi-comedy sesenda ke an event yemadvodza le-entitled mfowethu grand kuletha emaphilisi kunesa lesimo eminyani lophelile sike sabhunga nje netikhulumi tethu tati zame ukusekela yonke le mikhakha khumbula phela ukuthi June inyanga ye-men's mental health siphindze sithi asibuyele lapho lokhu sikhuthata kakhulu ukuthi lo msebenzi singawendeli noma singawulahli singawushiyi kufuna kukwenda kucace emaswatini ukuthi emadvodza kalukhulu kalukhulu inkinga lenkulu ukuthi ube senkingeni ungaboni ukuthi usenkingeni kuyinkinga lenkulu ke lokho kodwa nangabe sowubonile ukuthi unenkinga ubese sowucala kufuna atisombululo lokuthi emadvodza asenkingeni sesikubonile mfowethu grand is one of tinyathelo lesithathako kuletha tisombululo kuze emadvodza atoba ngcono na uvuse emehlo ubuka ama-suicide rate ashayisa livalo ama-divorce ashayisa livalo GBV setulu ngendlela esimanga le GBV ingumthelela yekuthi ngike ngathi idolo nasi ku social media indvodza ngakwakhiwa kwayo uNkulunkulu watakha yena wasuyibeke engadzeni yahlala netilwane isikhathi leside ihlala netilwane iBhayibheli nasifundza Genesis lithi njalo ngekuphola kwelilanga uNkulunkulu bekehla etensimini yase-Eden atohlala nemuntu nendvodza bacoce nakasacoca wathola uNkulunkulu ukuthi yathi lo muntu lesikhathi lasasihlethile le ndodza lana letilwane so shiftile akaseso umuntu sesilwane wase ubona ke wakha umsidi the female version ato neutralizer the wildlife la kulomuntu amanament abe domestic kunale timo ke nyalo leti sibuyisele ehlathini njengemadoda lokungaba lokubate kwemisebenzi lokubate indlebe yekuthi nje kube khona umuntu longuvako nangithe yathi angikho kahle lokukhuphuka kwe standard of living bese sisakhona ukumitha lama demands njengemadoda ekubangema providers kuyayishifta le ndodza kulahleka kwenhlonipho respect ingahlonipheki indvodza because yangahlonipheki indvodza ngekuthi ayikhona ukubeka etafeni iyasangani yashifta from kuba domestic animal yoba wild animal ngoba icalele ehlathini vele lemvelaphi yayo bese ke so ubona ngale mithelela lokho le ndodza seyizilwane seyibuyelele kule version yebulwane enkulunkulu lebekathi uyineutralizer ngemfati ubona ngale sikhathi seyishaya lo muntu lethi iyamthanza kuthi ayisekho ku the human form cause seyingale bulwaneni ubona ngalesikhathi eyimbulalo ubona ngalesikhathi ethatha isinqumo sekudibulala yona sikubonile phela etilwaneni ukuthi inyoka inganyatheleka ibese iyadiluma itifake poison itibulala lo muntu usuka samuvile from the human form asabiyele kwasilwane senda ke i-event le njengamfowethu Grandi kutozama ukucinisa lama screws ukuthi akungabi lula lokujika sibiyelele ebulwaneni njengemadoda phinze sibukete le tinto leti sijikisako ukuthi yini le tinto leti sitenda sijike sibiyelele ebulwaneni kungaba amatoho kungaba imali ngoba nemali na ubuka nje leti khuluma tethu khona la beta kukhuluma ngemali kucija emadoda ngelwati kulomkhakha wemali ngalokwecile kulokuyati kwethu njengaleli phepha lesiliphatha latandleni noma lelo ngcebe lesiye sisuphathe imali idzinga uyati beyond that beyond the legal tender note lesiyibona la sifuna amadoda akwati ngoba indvodza iyathola lokho kwaphela iphinze iqale kureverse ibiyelele la singafuni ihlale khona ngoba sisemgacweni manje kuyowenda indvodza iphila ibe ngumuntu sonke isikhathi kuzikhona kuba available yondle bantwana yende lokwanaloka ngoba timpawu tethi indvodza sesilwane ubona ngalothi ingasondla umntwana ingasabi available for lomfati kanzi le humanity ifuna ube available ufuna ube tonke letishwana leto mfowethu Grandi utele kuthi cover lo nyaka ngiko nje tikhuluma tethu setiningi nawuthi uyabuka tinabo dokotela lokunye lesikungedile kumfowethu Grandi siphinze salanza ke litiko letempilo ngendeka nje uthole bodokotela lokhanza ukuthi nangele bala abasibo laba balakhaya bangaphandle ngoba sathi ukuthi indodza injenge public figure yonke indodza i-public figure ku-angle yethu njengagogo nasilwane ema-public figure ayahlupheka la tibhedlela uta uphethwe ma-ansals la sibhedlela ungakhoni ukusimayila na ufika la ufika usho ligama leli lapha ku-ID nakeva leli phimbo lomuntu lobhalako lapha avuse amahlo hayi wena yegogo ungumduduzi wani yeshabangu nangigogo
obo
utela utobika ukuthi yathi angisakhona ukufaka lutho lamlonyeni nangifaka ngiyahlanda ama-ansals avukile lokwenda lesimo lekhaya sesimnanzi ngoba nakugula lo babe lekhaya lonke liyagula kwagula lenhloko lekhaya lonke lekhaya liyagula ngiko kwajika lo babe wabasilwane lekhaya lonke liyasafarisha ngiko ke siletha iplatform yamfowethu Grandi la simema khona onke amadoda ukuthi akabuya itoba incenye yana ukuthola isombululo ukuthi amadoda abe ngcono nemva kwaloko le ndoda ngeyisakhona kuba comfortable ngeke isakhona nekusho ukuthi yathi kwakhona lakhalo leli khalo lamali sesikahle man seyiyesaba ngoba le ndoda nawu uyachamuka bathi hawu wena ungibani sekubitwa lomunye uthakathovuswa lo bana isakhona kuba open silanzeke bodokotela nabonesi labacilongiwe ngengcondo nangendvodza batabe bayisita futhi mahala ha tabe sichecka nje tonke tifo letikhona emtimbeni while tabe ichubeka le show sinema speakers latabakhona sinema performances lokufaka khathi theater play le theater play sifakele ukuthi indvodza lenya ikhona ukufunza ngalokutshelwa ifuna kubukela ibone nje bathi icocela lapha itibone ukuthi ngimke nanguya engingasitaka nangenda kanje so there is a theater play kune comedy kune music kune poetry sihlanganisile nje impela ngenhloso yekutocija emadoda ngelwati ngenhloso yekutohlaba inyanza leyo ngoba lo monakalo lamadodzeni zwide uyipandemic lengetulu kweCovid kuphela ngokuthi covid wonke umuntu wayehlahlela emehlo kwenta sakhona kuyincoba ngasikhathi lesifishane nasingabanga umsindo ngalendlela emadoda lahlupheke ngayo singakhona ukukuncoba lo mbuto lothi mfowethu grand nakunende kubuthi indvodza kabili Timpendulo ngatifane lesimo siyanjinja because now ibuta kwecala icabanga lokho ukuthi ngiyabutwa nje njengenhlala yenda introduction how are you but as soon as ubuta lo mbuto kwesibili ukuthi mfowethu are you okay lenye ngendeke ikhale kukhona lesikhale litolo yasikhiphela licingo talking about the show besise Lambabane Mozambique Mozambique restaurant yakamamba lendodza besinalamanye amajali sisebenza nayo ngikhuluma ngale show yakhipha licingo yathi ngagcina kula mhla ngena na i-text naye iqhamuka kunangimuntu nangile thethe konke kwami empilweni ngayekela kula njengobona ngineslevel esingane ethinwethu ngaka ngayekela nje kunganani lokunye lekuyekele lendodza lebe ikuthanza idvubele konke just because of na i-text lengenile qhamuka kumuntu lethanzana naye emadodza they are going through a lot
emadvodza ayadzinga lokulashwa kuloku labhekene nako gogo utsinza indzaba ngithanda lesibonelo selibhayibheli lekwekuthi umvesilisa wagcina integrate netilwane kangangokuba naye wathatha lama characteristics ekubasilwane ngiyathi ke lokuthi bowungendi ijoke ukuthi kambe ngoba nawo ungogo usebenza nasilwane ukuthi encenye wena neutralize silwane ekuhlanyeni kwakhe encenye but ngikhanza imcwa kakhulu leyo example because nisukumile nenasilwane sinathi ngereputation yekuhlekisana uyabekisa uthi esibhedlela na wakhanza kun affecta kwananani engabe yini ke lena lenende nathi you know what in as much as we have le reputation le but lelinyeva leli njoba solibekile walibeka nalo asili address baningi bantu laba kuma position of influence labangasukumele edulu ema societal issues
Zwide ngiyabonga ngiyakholwa ukuthi labanye abakasukumi ngoba kube kufishane lama resources hayi noma ebedeni lamakhambi ukuthi bangendane kusita sive kodwa kuba kufisha kwalama resources kwenda liphupho lakho lingafezeki kalula nangabe ukhanika kuyedolobheni nje bese le mali egibela ubade ugcina ngalogeza uthamele isicelo bese lalaba le dolobheni abakuboni njengemuntu lote la dolobheni angithi kulomkhakha lo sibese enhlanhleni ngikuthi amaswati asibhuke kuma event abo the corporate basibhuke sibe nazuka lesingakhona ukuthi simeme abantu ngawo phinze futhi siye Happy Valley sicele Happy Valley uthi awumane usiboleke nayi indlu siyakholwa nje ukuthi onke lama prominent figures nakangamana sekeleke ngayo yonke indlela ngiko nje sinema partners asiko sodwana siyawabonga kakhulu lama partners lasibambisile kwethu kube ukuthi sihlabe inyanza leyo sithi sinanaliphupho bese sekusukuma lokufaka ekhathi Eswatini TV kuthi abuya sibambise ngobe lo la sikhona nje kuvela ku TV labanye bakubhadalela imali lethi setulu kodwa thina ukuthi uyabuyani la sesitobuketa uthi ngeke sekuze kube successful yini lengcocweni bantu nabangayiva sibonga kakhulu lokho lokunye ke lwati mbutho lomkhulu liyayintshintsha ibehavior nempilo yemuntu lwati njengekwalo thina nawe sibuya ku COVID le bantwana labanye sina sibacocela ngayo bangayibelieve COVID sonke sasifaka ifonyo singahlonzelani singachawulani ngalokuthi besinelwadi ukuthi kunento lenje kwakunebantu lebagula ngengcondo lebala emigaqweni lebe bangafaka imask banganjinji lifestyle bengayihumi nje lethi kune COVID bajuba labahamba bahlale noma ngangikuphi bathinta noma ngangikuphi thina kwawuthinta kwakubi sanitizer lwadi uthi lo mbuto lalabanye abantu nasibuka ukuthi ngema influencers kumbe ngema prominent figures bayatinika isikhathi sekuhlola lama states ukuthi labantu babulawa yini ema divorce abangwa yini manje thina inhlanhla yethu as ama content creators we need information in order for us to create content kusenta sibe exposed ukuthi umhlaba ume njani
100%
so lo mhlaba na ume kanje siyabona lo ukuthi lo mhlaba uye wena na uye wena ke lo mhlaba sekudzingeka umuntu manje lo ngamane alethele khambi ngeke ulimemete uthi sicela likhambi you need to act wena ngekwakho sengila khona sithatha sinyathelo sokuthi asimeme bantu laba lukhuni ukuthi ungabamema Indoda ilukhuni ukuthi ungayimema. Kunginyalo ema-shows la gcwala kubona emadoda lapho ayiswe ukuthi ayi-invite ngelabantu bomake. So nyalo si-invite emadoda odwa siyati ukuthi kulukhuni but siyawancenga ngemoya wasonto sikolo lo wasande school ukuthi bobabe asitincengeni isukumeni siyofuna lisito cause sekubonakele lokuthi siyagula.
Yeah. Umvesilisa gogo ngiyabona nje lokuthi kungaba insaya kangakanani kummema kunasi isikhathi la khona kune World Cup khona. Ngicishe wonke umuntu nyalo naphumila ngwesilisa uphumela ukuthi uyobukela ibhola encenye. Na utawuteka ke tindzaba leti ifana nanati lakhule athi ukuthi siteka ama-emotions ngiyawasuppressa mina ngwesilisa. Angiwateki nje embi kwebantu empeleni ngikhala ngedwa. Incenye lithuba lekweba kumfowethu uGrand weminyaka lophelile naleminye lenike nayibamba imisebenzi lefana nalena ukuthi la madvodza sawusibekisele ngababe emambe eMozambique but I think mfowethu uGrand is a better case study. Ekuthenini la madvodza nafika itsini le experience kuwabona khona kuthulula nekwekuthi nje akhulume lo ukuthi vele lokuthulula bekulukhuni idolo siyayibonga le platform lefana nayo.
Ayasithala ngiyakubonga uNkulunkulu manje sibonge ne-internet ngoba i-internet nakahleli lo mntana elicingo evale enye indvodza ikhuluma la cingweni kumele abone ukuthi uyathi nami ngiyafuna ngikhuluma. Ema platform la njengalawa lavula lithuba lokuthi amadoda awakhulume amadoda siyawacela ukuthi awabambe ngetandla lotimbili. Ibhola ikhona iyamenda babe athi kukhwesha kancane kulesimo saletinkinga labhekene nato. Manje inkinga yebhola nayo ita ihambe ikubangela iBP ngoba uthi so ukhethe ukuthi mina ngijabulela nabo. Lalabajabulela ngoba bangasendi kahle. So uphinza uyalimala futhi. Lokulimala lokho na uphethwe ngile stress emadoda ayati lokho athi akufakazela ukuthi ubukele ibhola uyibukele namakwa akho la khaya makwa akho lebhola akayada akayilandzeleli but uzama ukutimbandzakanya nawe lo make kukore lelenye team longayifavor ikore kulelo favor acelebrate yena ubone ligoli ukuthi lishaye bobani aphenza abute wena tinto letokukwatisa usabukela lebhola wakathi ngane la ngathi uvimbile apolice umangalo ukuthi njobe akazange asabe nggoalkeeper lo muntu emadoda ngiko kube sesikhathini lesiningi siwacela ukuthi nanoma iWorld Cup ikhona nani ikhona letinto leto yani kito ngekuthi uphilile wena yani kito ngeke ngadibana nalenye video athi lo munye babe akathi emadoda akayekele kunatha lamahewe abantu labadzala uthi but akayekele kuyonatha ngekuthi afuna injabulo akanathe ngekuthi ajabulile uthi ungayi lapha emahewini ukuthi ngiyiswa ukuthi ngiyofuna injabulo lapha emahewini but yani ngeke ukuthi ngijabulile
noma awuyi lapha ngeke ukuthi uyofuna ukukhohlwa inkinga takho
yani lapha ngeke ukuthi sengisolve le inkinga tami sengidikhohliwe ke ngoba setisothekile sengiyaya ke lapha ithi le nkulumo kulesikhathi seWorld Cup siyabancenga babo siyaba invite ukuthi nakulesikhathi seWorld Cup ihealth yabo solibalulekile
kakhulu
lapha sibe sikhulumisa into letiningi tengqondo kubaluleka kwengqondo kuphila physically mentally emotionally financially yonke lemikhakha lethinza impilo yendvodza kukhona labantu abasikhulumisa ngekwe diet ukuthi ufuna ngidle njani njengendvodza ufuna ngiphile njani ufuna tonke letinto leto siyabamema ke labo babe kulesikhathi lesilukhuni kangaka kuba ngibabe ngoba hey sesithelwe ngumsobho wenyama lesingakayidli lapha sinyathele umswane so yonke inkomo leseyisibona seyicabanga ukuthi ngithi lalaba bulelele lenye sekubhodlelwa la kithi nawe indvodza noma ungendi lutho kunana status lot awukhanza abasibhalile ukuthi man is a trash asithinze kithi no ngoba sisiwo but kude lesingakwenda we need to bring emadoda nzawonye kutowancestela sithi ngeke kwancestela bese siyawelapha ukuthi sesibhoqwe ngemsobho walenye asale senda kahle ke thine kuze le generation letako kungabe generation lethi indvodza ayikhali le generation letako kungabe generation leseyibhokled to the level lethi ifane nale generation lekhona ngoba le generation lekhona yimphumela yokuthi itolo na uthi uyakhuluma indvodza uthi ungakhulumi kwengcumfati yebo ufuna ngingakhulumi kwengcumfati but nyalo sengithethe lo mfati sengihlala naye ufuna ngikhulume ke nyalo ukuze ngitoni
nabakhulumisayo
sekufuna ngikhulume angisathi lo sefuna ngikhulume kanjani noma lo mfati angibuta ukuthi uyaphila yini waphinza lo mbuto ngoba like ufuna ngithemeleze angithemelezi we need to solve inkinga leti khona so we invite amadoda kuma platform lanje noma amadoda angesuka kululotha bhoboke silungise bo theater silungise i-comedy silungise i-poetry letawu triggerisha lendoda ukuthi ikhulumile ikakhulu abafune amadoda ukuthi mine kuba ngcono nakathi us kuba ngconywane emadoda nakathi us silungise le strategy lesitawenda ukuthi indoda igcine ithe us ikhiphe lobhlungu bayo ngoba indlela yekuwasha tija kufuna uqala uthulelo lokulakhathi kucala so indlela yokulapha lamadoda atohloba ukuthi akhulume sivule iplatform lefana naleyo kumfowethu Grandi 2026
ubaletiluba gogo lesingathi imithelela ye untreated mental health and ubaletiluba lesithi sakata cishe njalo ngeliviki letikhatsata hayi live kuphela umhlaba wonke empeleni ukhulume ngabo suicide ukuthi bulala lokumbathatha umphefumulo wakhe ngeti insaya labhekene nato encenye ukhulume ngeabuse lehlukene lethatha different forms but lencane linyeva kakhulu nyalo kunayo gender based violence lesiyibonako kuto tonke letiluba leto kambe ne substance abuse ngoba phela uzuyasiniketa ukuthi basifundzisile ukuthi yanilapha ngekwethi usawujabulile hayi ukuthi uyofuna injabulo engabe ama initiatives lafana nemfowethu uGrand apreventa kanjani lama outcomes ukuthi angendeki lawa ngikubudiswa yini lokugogo sibonile kulelo leliviki lesiliphethayo kunenzaba lengicabanga ukuthi nanamuhla khwalo bhala ngawo usoluthukile salo mfundisi sengene ngishisonveni lenzaba yabo gender based violence
kungaba kulilela hlobo nebangani talaba labagcine bashile emhlabeni ngoba sibonile ukuthi silahlekelwe imiphefumulo ngililele imindeni yabo ngililele livele eMaswati ngililele umhlaba losa exposed kulo budlwangudlwangu nebuhlungu lobunjena siyabalilela kakhulu nje lama platforms la njengalawa amcoka kakhulu ngobe abuyisana kuyaloko lapha encwadzini lengcwele naye ithi iBhayibheli sive sami siyafa siyabhubha ngakuswela lwadi so ama platform la njengalawa aletha lo lwadi lamadodzeni kuze lamadoda atokhona manje kuthatha step ngoba na uhamba ude direction awubonakala nalokho uyahamba because ungente wakwathi nekukala uthi ngisuke ku point A sengu point B because ude direction so ama platform la njengalawa lethe direction alethe umthombo welwadi kubo babe sto khona ukuthi buka lenzaba lokhuluma ngayo nje ngibuyisela kulomzekeliso lengicale ngawo zwido yokuthi indoda kuba neti nsayeya leti bese tiyiphushela emuva ibeli besilwane kude umuntu lo normally lo ngenda lesento lesibhlungu kangako lo normally kuchaza ukuthi le ndoda bese yecile nale kuline lekubasilwane bese yifile ngoba ngalesikhathi ubuyela lekube nesilwane ubona ngalama behavior lama decision lo wathathako kodwa labantu nasebendlula kumunye baba babili baba bathathu baya kulabanye baba bane lo muntu sowufile ngoba nasafile lo muntu sowude ebuhlungu ngiyeke ngithi nangikhuluma umphefumulo unathi imphanze nangabe songibulele mina ebuhlungu angisabuva sengifana noma ungangibekaphi ukuthi angibona ngiseva njani lesento sithi lo muntu abesafile kwethu kungaba kumlilela ngekwakhe bese sithe madodzeni lamanye ngobe ngiyakholwa zwido lokho ukuthi akusiyena yedwa nalobe kalimele efike kuleli zinga leli labanye balimele kufika kuleli zinga leli ubona ukuthi udubile akasayine kuyofuna umsebenzi lokusho ukuthi yena le GBV usapheka lengetulu kwale asiletheni likhambi masinyane sibuhlungu ngalesento leso ikakhulu nasitawendeke endlini yenkosi
absolutely
ngoba endlini yenkosi ngilasithi sibalekela khona nase kunedinkinga na ubuka nje ila kulethi ikhulumi leti la kulomfowethu Grandi nebafundisi sibafakile ngoba we want to address tonke leti ngoni leti nemadoda kungaba kusesontweni kungaba kusesikolweni kungaba ngikuphi emadoda akasukume siyalincestela nelibandla mani bafundisi siyabancestela kuloko ngobe kulukhuni kuphinziyoma embi kwebantu sekube kunalomunye wenu lo shaya on goal lefana nale sibobabe ke sishacekile ngobe na ungene ekhaya lomfati akasakubuki ngeliso lendoda kodwa sokubuka silwane ukuthi ingabe lona akangicabangeli into lokwendiwe kamakhelwane ngoba lokwendeka lapha wathula kutawufika nalakakho nakucekeziwe nje lokuthi uhlaba inyanza leyo emaswati akhe inyanza leyo ngebuhlabane lobuthi lo muntu wafika wathatha leli gogogo lapha wabaleka nalo wathula litogcine liphelile lapha emfanfini walomuntu nobenyangweni yakhe utasi uwelela lakakho ngoba utabe sakutayele asaphila ngako so sesinelivalo nje ngikubona wonke umuntu uyabhala uyakhuluma ngale nto le ngobe sizama indlela yokucwayisa nemkwegwema sibuhlungu kakhulu kulesento lesi siyakholwa kodwa ukuthi umthetho utawuthatha indzawo yawo ungagcini ekulondoloteni lo uphinze ufundzise ngoba nangabe umthetho utawugcina ngekubutha labo babe labagange lokho lokusho ukuthi utawugcina uthi indzawo yekubabeka ngobe leti wombe tiyendeka tikakemi lengaphandle sicela abafundziswe labantu besilisa labanye abathathwe labalebe badudane bayiswe counseling
gogo ngibuka nje isikhathi sethu sesiyalimala sina give or take 5 minutes umsebenzi utawuba se-Happy Valley ngifuna ukukhulume nawe Madvodza nje ubusho ukuthi umuntu lokulukhuni ukuthi ungammema lo khulume neMadvodza ukuthi ngabe kukhona yini ukuthi sigade Madvodza la kanje ukuthi ede noma wonke umuntu wesilisa la utawuba naso isikhathi uyamcela ukuthi avele but ngiyafuna ukuthi ngalokukhethekile ukhulume nangaye Madvodza lesitawuthi aku position of influence ngoba wona aphinze athwale ngawuthi double burden ubekusile ngokuthi nawe uyesibhedlela bevale liphimbo basabhala la bese baphakamisa wongogo lo hawu unani wena yakubona sekwenda sa double burden khuluma nawo lamajaha lawo ngoba nawo akade khanza khona attenda indvo letifana naleti
Zwide ngiyabonga kakhulu siyawacela manje Madvodza ukuthi le pandemic idzinga so thina sonke efuna silwe nayo sonke sicela abantu bathi avele ngendlela lebalulekile lesingesakhona kuyichaza le environment siyakhe ngalelizinga lelithi indvodza ngeke iluze sitfundisayo ngoba indvodza ayikufuni lokutayenda itivele ingase siyo indvodza ngalokwanele ayikufuni nje so labantu labe bahlela lo msebenzi background yabo banendvodza lecwele so lo msebenzi ulungelene neMadvodza siyawamema eMadvodza ukuthi akede ngeke kwendeke indvodza etisole ngekuthi iteke lo msebenzi lo angiphinze ke ngisho ukuthi it's not only for abantu nasithi eMadvodza labanye abantu baya bakucabanga umuntu lo shadile kanti siswathi sithi Budvodza bukhulele kunemntana lo indvodza lona 8 years but uyindvodza ngobe uNkulunkulu umthembile wasusa labatali washiya yena to be the head of the family simema wonke umuntu wesilisa now wesilisa nje now ngibaba ungibhudi le event ikahle yakhelwe wena ngoba sidinga impilo idzinga role model man sigileka kangaka nje ngoba sibukela abo babelambili baphila impilo nasizama kuyiphila lempilo isiyise emeneni ngoba beyibe emeneni lempilo so kunemntana lo idzinga role model lengibabe ake tato khona kuyithola kulama speakers bese ke labane influence siyabacela ukuthi bede ngobe nabo sidinga kube khamela ngekwabo kokuthi hey phela wena usenkingeni learning ngoba usaphila impilo yakho kodwa sophila impilo yalesive
yevakambe
so uphila impilo yalesive so role model kubantu labaningi buya ke stokubonisa ukuthi lo mthwalo ungawethwala kanjani nalesive ungawuthwali wethwala ngoba hey sithwele sodwa mani ngamunye nangamunye Madvodza sithwele asibuye sitowethwalisana sitabe sithi lugodo kimi nje kunazwide kube khwala kushoko lokutawu kwenda ngikhambula khaliphe njingila khaliphe bani khaliphe kuzula lugodo sinjinjisa le information ngeke nje kube i-event ekusindvodza ite kutohlala phasi ilalele kodwa kutabe kungisesangweni sitowucijana ukuthi uyathi mina kuze ngibambe impunzi ngagcina ngithi angime lokuyigijimisa ngemuva ngibeke tingibe lonke letinto leto kutabe kuyinhloso yokuthi sitowakha indvodza ngoba indvodza iyadzinga kubanjiswa kule mithwalo lebhekene nayo
kuna ngu2 minutes wethu wekugcina nato letikhulumi letabe khona lapha ngidawuthi nje libito uthi masinyane ukuthi lo nto asekhamela ngani just quickly sincane lesikhathi sethu okay ma moderators dawubuya kuwo sina spoken word rendition akuna courtesy
umbathele emabhanji lamabili utabe akupoetry muhle kakhulu ngale kule mkhakha wetinkodlo babe muhle kakhulu utabe phinze futhi atsinza indzaba yekuba ngibabe kuleti khathi the modern life la sesi-civilized khona utaba since indzaba yekubangidedi kafishane kuthi lo mthalo wekubangidedi singabambisana kanjani so utaba embetheleni utawuperforma phindze futhi akhone kusekhamela kulo mkhakha wokuthi kuba ngilodedi kuleti khathi tanamuhla esikhathini tema 2000 baye basho njalo labanye kuhamba kufikephi unemgodla lo muhle kakhulu lasiphathele wona lapho ema-surprises lesiqhawula ukuthi amadoda atawujabula futhi asitakale ngawo
gogo ngesaba isikhathi sethu sesilimele kodwa nje just quickly utaba khona Terence Mthera Thwala sihle sibanaye la lihlelweni asifundise ngetimali siyabona bo PhD bosimo simelane Pastor Clement Pastor Richard so I think kuvumelana kubosolo kusho ukuthi kutabe ku all encompassing siyabonga kakhulu ugogo mfowethu Grand kulempela sonto Happy Valley mental wellness and mental well-being yabantu besilisa sethembe indaba nempela sonto lenhle sethembe indaba bonakala nangemgcibelo kanjalo nangemsombuluko nsale kahle
Mswalo ingozi thula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yodenza bakhe wone akayithathe
the day you take Christ into your life you begin to walk in a blessing.
Emaswati. Master ushiya simakazi.